Hello, hello. How are we doing today, everybody? We are live in the Action Lab here on a Wednesday night. Now, you may think to yourself, hey, we have something a little different going on right now. And what's happening here? This isn't Scotty. What's happening here? Well, I have a treat for every single one of you lab rats out there that we have a guest host tonight. Scotty is out in the heat of the action over at Coors Field trying to get people going here, with the Cubs in town, and it's crazy. Wasn't able to get away here, so we have my friend Brandon in. So Brandon obviously is our guest host tonight. He will be working with us here. Actually, depending on how things work out tonight, it could be a permanent guest host. Could be also he could just end up being a host eventually down the line if you guys like him enough. But go ahead and say hi, Ella Cole.
I don't know about all of that, Chris. I appreciate you having me on the show. I could never do what you and Scotty do on the show, but I'm happy to be here tonight, helping you all out. And hopefully maybe make some other guest appearances in the future. But I'm excited about tonight. Lots going on in the sports world beyond the Cubs and the Rockies taking place. Lots more.
Ella Cole already in the chat. Who dis? Hey man. Already giving you some love in the Action Lab stream chat. So yeah, you're a hit already, man. You just been here for 30 seconds.
All right. Well, make sure to follow me on Twitter. You know what I'm saying?
So Brandon, you can see that chat, okay? Yeah,
I can see the chat.
Beautiful. So anyways, we will be having Brandon here for our full show tonight. We are streaming live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you're here, make sure you are hitting that follow button if you love all of the fun, all of the things that we got going on, because then you know exactly when we're going live each and every week. Sometimes we're a little late, sometimes we're a little early, but if you have those notifications hit, that means we are in your feed to go live whenever you are near your device. You can just click one click away. So, D. Cole in chat, welcome to the fun. See, man, you're getting more welcomes than I get on this show. I'll tell you.
I'm excited. Yeah. Great fan base here. All I can say. Great fan base.
We're already off and running here. So, we're going to talk a lot. We got tons to cover, Brandon. We got a lot going on here. We got our big top story Action Lab news rundown going on tonight. So, we're going to cover all the top stories going on around the leagues. And then we're going to dive into some fact or fiction, which I think we're going to have a lot of fun with. Your first time doing all of this, but fact and fiction is a staple that I'm excited for you to join in on.
All right, I'm excited for the topics tonight.
So, by the way, I want you to give just a brief intro for yourself on, your background, what like your favorite sports, your favorite teams, where did all the love for sports come from?
It all started with the Denver Broncos, John Elway, those first couple Super Bowl years. I'm a big hometown fan from Colorado, so got my Buffs in the background. Love all sports, though. So college football, big college football fan, and a big boxing fan as well. So I've done a little bit of work in pro boxing and amateur boxing. Go Team USA Boxing, and Team USA overall. So excited to talk a little bit of Olympics later tonight, possibly. And let's jump right in. Let's get started.
Yeah, love it. By the way, when we get closer to some of the bigger boxing matchups here coming up, which I think one of them was delayed, right? If I'm not mistaken, we got
Wilder versus Fury delayed a little bit, but eventually we're gonna get that one.
But we're gonna bring in. You have to come in for the pre-fight analysis for everything going on with that. So I want to know all your insights, because obviously Scotty and I, we're not a big boxing following group here on the Action Lab. So we need your insights, man. We got to bring you in. We might have the triple screens going, and you can give us all the details we need to know along with everyone in the Action Lab.
Let me tell you what. Forget all the big networks. Forget what they tell you when it comes to boxing. You're going to want to tune into the Action Lab when I'm on right here, because you get all the good boxing tips and info.
Woo! Woo! Bringing the heat. Bringing the heat. Man, this is going to be a fun night. I'm already excited. So let's dive in. We have our news rundown coming up right off the bat here. And let's dive into some of the top stories. Now, we have a lot going on here this week. And we're going to kick things off in the NHL because there is kind of a weird story going on within the NHL that's like kind of a big deal in some instances because honestly, we have a big story with Evander Kane and some gambling issues that he's been battling in not only social media, but now with some investigations through the NHL and different things. So in case you didn't know what was going down with this one, Evander Kane, he's again, we're not big on San Jose Sharks by any means, and we don't cover a ton of hockey unless it's like playoff time or middle of the season and we're like really have a lot of storylines. But this is kind of a big one because NHL is investigating allegations that the wife of San Jose Sharks left winger Evander Kane showed in an Instagram post that he bet on hockey games and compromised games for his own gambling purposes. Does this sound familiar? Maybe Pete Rose comes.
Sounds like there's a baseball guy, right? little known baseball guy. Yeah.
So some of the gambling allegations to this. Saturday night on Instagram, Anna Kane, they're getting a divorce. It's kind of messy. And alleged that her husband bet on Sharks games with bookies and threw games for gambling purposes. She also claimed that Kane had a gambling addiction that was causing the couple hardship. In response, Kane posted to Twitter that he'd never bet on hockey, including Sharks games, and he's never thrown a game. So you have him kind of defending himself. He was very adamant about this. Now, what we do know about his gambling is the fact that he has a history with it, right? Gambling is he's openly gambled at table games in Las Vegas casinos. In April 2019, he failed to pay $500,000 casino marker from the Cosmopolitan while he was in town for a playoff series against the Vegas Golden Knights. If that doesn't scream gambling addiction to, like, I don't know what does. If you're just in town just to play and you have to hit up the casinos, you know, it's kind of like, maybe you have a little bit of something going on. In January, Kane filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Crazy. As a part of his legal filings, he claimed to have lost $1.5 million gambling at a casino via bookie over a 12-month span leading up to the bankruptcy petition. According to Cap Friendly, Kane has lifetime earnings in the NHL of just under $56 million. He's 3 years into a $49 million contract with the San Jose Sharks and has a $26 million remaining. So that just throws into a question here with everything that's going on with what she's posted. Obviously, it's not far-fetched to link his activities with some of the gambling side of things. However, the NHL has opened up an investigation and are just going deep into this because they do take this pretty seriously. Obviously, they don't want to have another Pete Rose on their hands. But as far as the NHL's collective bargaining agreement, it doesn't leave much gray area in the side of standard club rules when it comes to gambling, where it says, quote, gambling on any NHL game is prohibited. That rule is posted in every dressing room around the league. According to NHLPA, players are allowed to wager on sports outside of hockey. So, as far as the NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman has empowered the CBA to impose discipline on any player violating any off-ice league rule, including gambling. So we'll see what this ends up coming out. Brandon, what are you thinking about everything?
Well, first off, you mentioned a lot of allegations there in terms of him having a gambling problem before. And it looks like he did have a gambling problem, right?
Sure.
Talk about some of that bankruptcy. Are these things that the NHL knew about, I want to know, prior, and what were they doing to help this player get over that so it did not become a situation such as him gambling on other NHL games or his own NHL game? So I think the NHL better be careful with how they proceed, because I think a lot of people are looking at mental health, in a sense of taking care of athletes when they have.
Hold on, I think I lost your audio for a second.
Eventually.
So we lost your audio for a brief moment through that little end of your spiel there. So
I think you got the gist of it. What has the NHL done prior to help this man out with his gambling problems to make sure it didn't become a bigger problem in terms of him gambling in the NHL? And then second, how come you can't gamble on other games in the NHL? That's what I want to know, Chris. Do you think you should be able to gamble on other games in the NHL?
I think I think it's a slippery slope. I think you got to be careful with it because once you're gambling on other, I don't know how much insiders information really comes into play when it comes to, you talk to a lot of players on the opposing teams and hey, like, are you guys playing your full roster tonight? Oh, you're not? You're missing a couple guys that are game time decisions. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to put a couple bucks on your game versus that other team to see, how that plays out. Because then you're getting into some weird, aspects of, all right, you kind of have some information no one else knows. You're in the locker rooms. You're talking to different players you might be friends with. They might be giving you some info. I don't know. It gets kind of tricky with that. I don't know if I love it, but I do like what you mentioned about the assistance from the league. And the NHLPA has a player assistance program that includes a hotline that allows players to confidentially connect with counselors, including for gambling addiction. However, I don't think that's a very proactive approach necessarily. So I think it's one of those, hey, give us a call if you're having trouble. But otherwise, it's kind of not exactly a widely used item of information.
We all have that hotline, right? Every casino in America has that hotline number. Real fast before we move off that topic, should you be able to gamble on your own team winning?
Should
you be able to gamble on your own team winning? Is there anything wrong with that?
Gamble on your own team winning. So you're saying that, okay, if I have confidence in my team, I can bet on them to win.
Yeah. Is there anything wrong with that?
I think, again, that's a slippery slope. I think it's a very cautious thing you should walk a line on. I don't think you should be able to. I think, here's the thing. I think what they have in place is fine. Betting on other sports is fine. I do think that the barrier of betting on your own sport makes a little bit more of a difference here. And I think that that's going to be, I feel like that should always be in effect, right? So, the sport better than anyone else. You know the ins and outs of the behind the scenes of players talking, coaches talking. You're friends with coaches on other teams. They're friends with, your players on your team. So, then if you're not doing it, maybe someone else is taking advantage of certain ways to get information back and forth between teams and capitalize on getting a nice little payday on a certain game. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea to dabble in that, but if he wants to go and bet on like the Boston Red Sox tonight, or if he wants to go put a big wager on, the San Francisco 49ers to win it all, like, go for it, man. You want to bet? Charles Barkley did a good job. Obviously, Michael Jordan is one of the historic gambling guys in the NBA. He gambled all the time. Obviously, we don't know if he never behind the scenes low-key bet on basketball by any means, but gambling is a big thing with college athletics and professional athletics in general. So especially with betting being more and more prominent across the United States, throughout the different states that are legalizing it one by one, it's going to be more and more of a common thing, and you're going to see a lot of this being under the microscope, especially with big time odds makers and books going up across the country. So fascinating.
I could see an eventual rule change. I could see an eventual slight rule changes down the line. Maybe not betting on your sport, like you said, in your team.
But so you would actually go for being able to bet on your own team. Then it sounds like you would lean towards that.
Well, we've seen it before. Floyd Mayweather often bets millions of dollars on himself. I mean, I think if you're willing to bet that you're going to win, I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. If you were betting on yourself to lose, of course you would have insider information. Oh, somebody's not playing tonight. There's no way we're going to win this game. But if you're betting on yourself, I mean, I think that's even just extra motivation to make sure that nothing goes wrong.
Interesting
motivation. So I don't think there's anything maybe wrong with that. I could see an eventual rule change to that in time.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I like it. I mean, let us know in chat what you guys think. What should players be able to bet on their own team to win games in their respective sport? I think you've kind of brought me a little bit closer to the edge. I still don't know if I trust it. However, I do think that it's one of those things where maybe you might see a rule change eventually. Who knows? But interesting proposition, though. I might look into that a little bit.
I'll let you marinate over that.
Yeah. But either way, Evander Kane is far from getting through this aspect of what he's dealing with financially and personally, I guess, with his divorce and everything else. I believe he's got kids with with his current wife that he's getting a divorce with. So, I mean, it's kind of messy. So, hopefully he can figure that stuff out, and hopefully this isn't like a big deal for the NHL, because the worst thing you want to do, I mean, we had that Tom Dennehy in the NBA with the referee betting on games, but that's a little different as well because he's the one directly officiating the game. So you can't really get past that.
You can easily throw a game if you're an NBA ref. You could throw a game, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can, blow the whistle whenever you want. You have that power. So I think referees definitely need to stay away from betting any game at all. But yeah, it's similar feeling though, right? It just doesn't feel great, but I don't know. So yeah, at least hopefully he can figure stuff out, and we'll find out what these NHL investigations bring here soon. So here we go. But that brings us to our next topic, and that is NFL injury bugs. And so we will be diving in. So camp has just kicked off most recently. We have a camp that popped off here in Colorado with the Denver Broncos training camp. And, it's been great. We haven't made it out there yet, Brandon. We got to make it out there to Broncos training camp.
Got to make a trip. See the Teddy Bridgewater versus Drew Lock. See who's going to win.
But with training camp, by the way, man, I've been hearing mixed reports on all the training camp news coming out of Denver when it comes to who's going to win that, and it's just back and forth. Neither of them sound like they're doing great. It doesn't sound like either of them are taking hold of the starting job. As a Bronco fan, you want Drew Lock to be the starter. You want him to win because that's what's better for the future of your football team. If he can't beat out Bridgewater, we're in trouble. But not that I hate Bridgewater. I think he's fine. I'm getting off on a tangent. I'm sorry. But so I digress. Training camp is popping off. Now, we're starting to get injuries coming through, and the Dallas Cowboys and the Colts are no exception. So coming out, we already have Carson Wentz, who was kind of the big one of the training camp. Now, quarterback Wentz suffered a foot injury last Thursday that required surgery, which was completed on Monday. Tuesday, head coach Frank Reich told reporters that the surgery was successful and revealed no other complications. The recovery time would be about 12 weeks, which is kind of rough, right? I mean, luckily it's still preseason. You can still get him back for, a chunk of the season, but 12 weeks, I mean,
that would be pretty catastrophic. That would be pretty catastrophic if it was 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Especially with that early slate that they have. They have quite a few tough teams, actually.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough turnaround for them. And not to mention, they also have issues with Quentin Nelson, aiming to be ready for week 1, but he underwent a foot surgery as well. So, as far as that goes, he should be in a good place to come back eventually, right on time for the season. But quarterback's a big position to lose your starter too, especially a guy you just picked up and you brought in you're excited about everything. So Carson Wentz is on that list. So, I mean, where do you think, you mentioned catastrophic. Does this just completely derail their chances of even making the playoffs before the season even starts?
I mean, I think it definitely hurts. I think if you look at some of those first few teams that they're playing, I think there's about over 700 win percentage from last year of the teams that they're getting ready to play in the.
You got you frozen again, I think, my friend. It's gonna.
You have.
We're gonna catch up with you. Say that one more time.
Okay. Well, I think you have to consider a trade if you're the Colts. You have a tough schedule early on. You don't really have anybody on the roster with experience. I think you have one of the quarterbacks from UCLA a few years ago. He's the only one with any actual NFL experience, and I think he has about 40 passing yards. So it's not somebody that you're going to want to lean on. You have a couple of rookies, whether, between last year or they were drafted this year, they didn't play last year. I think you have Jacob Eason from Washington. You have to consider a trade. Now, you look at the market out there. We're talking about Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. If Teddy Bridgewater loses, is he going to be suddenly on the market at some point? You have to look at Marcus Mariota with the Oakland Raiders. Is he a viable option? I know they want him there as a backup, but if they get good trade value out of him, could they ship him off? You also have, with the Chicago Bears, they have 3 quarterbacks on their roster right now. The guy that led the Eagles to the Super Bowl when their starting quarterback went down, he's on the trade block right now, basically. He's going through camp, he's going through the motions, but of course they want to get rid of him. So I would assume that the Colts are going to be making some phone calls here within the next 48 hours, and I would expect a new quarterback to be in town challenging for the job very shortly, because like you said, you're still early on. You can bring on one of these veteran quarterbacks, get everybody back together, get on pace, at least for the early part of the season, and be very successful. You really only have to right the ship about 500 when you're a backup quarterback, and then get ready for the starter to come back in and carry you the rest of the way. So what do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think that's in the cards, a trade?
So you bring up interesting propositions, because I've already seen some little rumblings about potential trades that you brought up a couple names there. I mean, this just screams like we need somebody in there better than what we have. Now, I think what you brought up with the Denver Broncos is fascinating, because one of those two guys, one is going to make the roster, and hopefully, it's the guy you want. It's Drew Lock, if he's able to compete and win the job. But then you do have Teddy Bridgewater. But here's the thing. If you're not sold on either of those guys, you ship one out, you kind of commit to one for a season, and you still have Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes next year. So you're not necessarily committing to anything in particular. You're just getting through the season with somebody that can just manage football games. And, obviously Aaron Rodgers was a big name around here locally. He's definitely a guy that the Broncos still have on their radar. He still has a lot left. Obviously, he's coming back with the Green Bay Packers this year on a 1-year deal, but the market is wide open for him after this year. So if the Broncos, depending on what they do, if the Broncos are really interested in that trade and trying to make some things happen there and kind of give out that depth, gives one of our quarterbacks here a chance to potentially, do something big. I think if that's the case, you send Bridgewater and you see what you got with Locke. If Locke doesn't pan out, then you go out and you get depending on what happens with Deshaun Watson and his issues, that's an option coming up in the next year. If not this year, if certain things happen, I don't see that happening with Watson, but you get through this season and you have an Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes next year where he wants to be.
Before you move off the Denver Broncos, does this give the front office and the coaches of the Denver Broncos more reason to make a decision quickly on whether it's going to be Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater if you're considering a trade with the Colts?
Yeah, you have to make that decision quick. You have to do that because obviously so far, I just don't think they've had the opportunity to go there. Murray and Chat, I think they'll know after next week for the Broncos. Yeah, you might be right. I think so. Nobody has really outplayed each other in just when you think someone's pulling away, they kind of regress. And here's the thing: the Broncos' defense has definitely been just on fire. From all indications, our defense is going to be one of the top defenses in the league. So I kind of take that into effect when it's evaluating a quarterback and seeing how well they're doing or how well they're not doing. If they're just breezing past our defense, I don't know if that's a great thing. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like we will, to Marie's point. Marie, by the way, thanks for popping in. We missed you on the Action Lab. I think that has to come to fruition very, very soon. You got to give the guy who's going to be your starting quarterback more time to just get comfortable with the team, the playbook, get those first team reps. It's going to be one of two guys, so might as well make that move quicker and get through and make that happen. So that's interesting. It's kind of crazy how one team like the Colts has one catastrophic injury that puts their number one quarterback out for as long as it does, could have such a domino effect on what other teams are doing here. And we're only in like the second or third week of training camp coming up here. So, man, it's kind of crazy.
Any chance that Nick Foles, that was the name that was eluding me, any chance that he goes, because of the fact that, you know, he came in and he basically kind of took that position at some point from Carson Wentz. Psychologically, you avoid doing that to Carson Wentz?
Now, I've seen this meme going around. Have you watched, I don't know if in chat you guys have watched Breaking Bad, the show Breaking Bad. Have you seen that, Brandon?
I've seen that, yes.
Where at the end, where Jesse Pinkman's like, he can't keep getting away with this. He can't, like that's what I think Foles is. That's what like Carson Wentz is saying to Foles. He can't keep getting away with this. He just keeps just doing it. And I think that meme just strikes this situation perfectly because honestly, it's like that's what Foles does. He comes in, takes over, challenges you for your job, and then he plays well, and there's questions whether or not he should be the starting quarterback. And here we go again with Carson Wentz. And
you know, he's a quarterback does so great when he has no pressure. When he's coming in to be the backup and they're saying, you know, just go out there, win a couple games, do what you do. Nick Foles is great. When you put him as the official starter, that's when things go south. He's not great under pressure like that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Those aren't the only injuries that we're talking about here, though, as well. So our big team coming up on Hard Knocks this coming weekend ahead of time. I love Hard Knocks. I don't know if you watch Hard Knocks, Brandon, or any of you guys in chat, Marie or Diacola, Elacola in chat, if you guys watch Hard Knocks. But, I mean, they are going to be star-studded this time. And they're going to have some injuries that they're going to be showcasing from what it sounds like based off of Dak Prescott has already ruled out of the Hall of Fame game against Pittsburgh due to a shoulder, I think they just have a strained shoulder is what they're saying it is. So just precautionary, I believe. And Marie D loves the Hard Knocks. Oh man, Broncos almost got it. I was like, I don't know, if
it's a curse. It's a curse to have Hard Knocks.
I mean, to be honest, they always pick teams that are kind of on the up and coming. But I mean, I think the Broncos would have been a very, very entertaining with Von Miller and all those. I was bummed. Marie and Chad, I was bummed. No curse. Love it. Yeah. So we have Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. So we're gonna be seeing them. But Dak, I think this is a pretty precautionary thing here. Just kind of keeping him out, making sure he's healthy. Obviously, he's had substantial injuries over the last year and a half. So it's really good to just make sure that he's ready to roll week one because Dallas is really hoping to have that bounce back year coming up. So, and then also on the other front here, you had Amari Cooper, who had a little ankle injury that he's battling through as well. Minor ankle procedure earlier on this offseason. So, he's been running over the last few weeks. Could continue, further as he rests his ankle. Unlikelihood that he'll, miss major time by any means. But again, this is why you go through camp and you try to get those guys all figured out before they jump into anything like a regular season and feel, a lot better from that standpoint. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about some of the Cowboys, but this will be something we'll probably see on Hard Knocks.
Correct. Were the Bengals on Hard Knocks last year?
No. It was
years ago?
that was a couple years ago. I believe last year, if I'm not mistaken, who was it? The most recent, they had the Cleveland Browns.
Marie would know. She's a Hard Knocks fan. Who was on it last year?
Let's see. I want to say.
I bring it up because I've been hearing that Joe Burrow, who went to the Bengals, he has not been doing well in training camp. He seems to have a little bit of jitters, a little bit of getting back to it mentally, from what they say, from some of the injuries. So a lot of his throws are off, pretty far off. He's trying to be very careful out there. Buffalo. Thank you, Marie. Thank you very much.
Was it Buffalo?
I told you, Marie.
I thought. Well, no. I thought it was the L.A. Chargers, L.A. Rams. Yeah, Chargers, Rams. Yep.
There we go.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Because I was
Beat you to it before you said it. She still beat you to it.
I know. She's still on point with it. But yeah, we saw the lack of fans from the Chargers, and then you saw the Rams, who they're pretty fun to watch in early on training camp as well. But yep, Dallas is where it's at. She mentions also Broncos lost their center to an ACL. Let's see. I've been so behind on some of the injuries actually from the Broncos side of things. Did that just happen? Like, Murray, when did that happen? Was that a couple days ago, or when did that happen? I've been trying to keep up. Yesterday, man. See, I've been definitely behind on some of the Cody Conway. Let's see, who just got hurt here for the Broncos. Yeah, so let's see, he's torn ACL practice. So it looks like the Broncos definitely need to take a step and fill that role there. But hey, Marie, thank you for throwing that in the chat. Appreciate all the help with all the. See, that's why we love you guys in the Action Lab. We got all you guys helping out, making sure we are on our toes here. So
they're all everybody's part of the show here. Everybody that's watching.
That's right. So so that's where we're at with some of these injuries here. Obviously, we're gonna keep tabs. Like, I remember last year, Von Miller here in Denver got hurt on the last snap before a certain practice right before the season started, and I was just like, ugh, like, it's the most brutal thing to hear. Some things like that happen right to your. We have so much high hopes for our defense as well, so hopefully everyone stays healthy. But keep an eye for sure on that whole Indianapolis Colts situation with Carson Wentz. That's going to be a fun one, depending on what ends up happening there. So, that's where we're at. And yeah, throw out your thoughts on what you think you would like to happen with anything else going into the preseason, all the camp stuff. Who are your teams, and who would you like to see just really ball out throughout the course of the preseason? And we're getting closer and closer to football season, man, and it's going to be fantastic once we get there. All right, so next we want to touch on some Olympics updates. Now, you have been all about the Olympics. I know you've been following a lot more than I have, but most recently we covered a lot of the Simone Biles, pieces of information when it comes to, all the things that happened with her. She ended up doing her balance beam routine, ended up finishing with the bronze. But yeah, we'll dive into some Tokyo real quick. Marie in chat, do you need to have a help draft your fantasy team? We are absolutely going to have that, Marie. So we are going to have a fantasy football draft special. And actually, Scotty and myself are talking about going into a big fantasy league, like a big money league that they have in like Vegas to we'll split it like 500 a piece and go into one of these big money leagues with, some of these other experts and have some fun with it. And we're going to do an entire draft special on who you should be choosing. Now, we're going to do that probably closer to when we get into the preseason games, because obviously we want to get closer and closer to, getting to see how these rosters are going to be kind of formulated a little bit more. Usually you have cuts and everything else, so it's kind of a little early. We will, though, obviously injuries could happen, as we've been literally just talking about with the injury bugs in training camp. So it's not great to rank guys that may or may not get hurt or some things happen between now and the start of the season. But Marie, I want you to be back here for that draft, NFL fantasy draft. Like, we're going to cover each and every sleeper, each and every stud, running back, receiver, every draft position, so you have everything you need going into your draft to make sure you have your championship season this year. So,
real fast, Chris, if you and Scotty go to Vegas, are you guys gonna do a live show from Vegas? I think you have to. You got to do Vegas.
We would do a live show from Vegas. I believe that would be absolutely fantastic. We won't go crazy like Evander Kane. Oh, too soon. Too soon? Maybe. All right, maybe that's too soon. But we'll have a great time. So maybe I got to convince the wifey about it, though. I got to make sure that she's on board with it. Maybe you come out with us and you do it with us. We have a three-team draft where we just go in and we just tell everyone what they need to know about fantasy football.
Yeah, that would be fun. Maybe connect with your Raider pals, being that you're Broncos fans. You guys have good relationships with the Raiders, right? You probably could do a live stream from the stadium. No, not a good relationship there.
No, not quite. Not unless they put us in that VIP club that they have going into their in their end zone. I don't know, whatever the hell that is. That's ridiculous. I mean, they concentrate. They could put a club in their end zone, but they can't get a quarterback to throw for their team, and that they love. Like, what? How about you concentrate on the things that matter, Las Vegas Raiders? How about?
I think you and Scotty should build up, to the NFL season by every show, dropping a dig on the Raiders.
We should. I know Marie would love that. I mean, obviously, she's a big Broncos fan, so she would dig all of that. Yeah, no, we would definitely do that each and every week. We'll maybe just have the number one dig on the Raiders. And plus, I mean, unfortunately, Scott is a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but he
doesn't have to like the Raiders then either.
Well, yeah, no. That's we have a mutual despise of the Raiders. However, he has we have issues with Broncos and Chiefs as well. So there's that. But that's a whole nother thing. Luckily, I have you on the show, a fellow Bronco fan, where I don't have to hear Patrick Mahomes' name twice a show. Regardless of what we're talking about. We could be talking about NBA, and he'll slide in a Patrick Mahomes little thing. So thank you for not dropping anything Patrick Mahomes. We like to give him shit for KC. Yeah. I wish... See, Marie, this is why we need you on. I know we have another Action Lab lab rat in the chat that Mayday usually gives Scott crap. He just comes in hot sometimes, and he'll just be like, Mahomes is trash. He's the worst. Just to get Scott fired up, and it's great. But he's a Philadelphia guy, so but we appreciate all our fans, regardless of where they're from, and even if they give Scott some shit, I love it. But yeah, that's.
well, I think we can all agree, though, that we like Team USA, right? Everybody in the chat, Team USA fans?
Team USA. We got a big NBA, or we got a big basketball game with the Australia. We're going to touch on that a little bit more in the next Fact or Fiction segment, where we want your help to say fact or fiction with some of the various topics that we have coming up. So stick around for that after we're done with the rundown, and we'll make sure that we do that. PD Nick's Fantasy Draft Special. By the way, I believe PD Nix is Scott. He tunes in from Coors Field to pop in and have a good time. So, Marie, you can still give Scott shit even in the chat. Just you have to type it to him. That's all.
Let him know how good Patrick Mahomes is. Let him know how good Patrick Mahomes is, everybody.
But we have a big matchup, United States and Australia in the Olympics, and we will be talking about that a little bit. But that's a fun story. And then we also have the other end of that. You got France and Slovenia with Luka Doncic, which is unbelievable. But right now, as far as it goes, the Olympics overall, USA leads in gold or in overall medals, 79 over China, and ROC, Rock Nation, i.e. the cheating Russians, who just they can't play under their flag, so they got to throw it out there with a new name. But China still owns more golds than anybody else, 32-25 over USA. USA owns more silvers than anyone else, 31-22, and USA owns the most bronze medals, 23-18. Real quick in chat, PD Nix, QB Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, kicker. So he's pretty much drafting the whole Kansas City Chiefs team in his fantasy draft. So actually, Marie, I will say, based off of what Scotty's saying in the chat, unless you draft all Chiefs, you're not going to win your draft. That's what he's saying. I'm going to talk some sense into him, though, because we're going to be sharing a team, so we'll have to battle through that. But
you have to be more strategic.
So what
I will say with the Olympics, though, like you talked about, China currently has more gold, but I will say with track and field currently happening, I think the U.S. might make a jump in that gold medal count, hopefully. I will say, spoiler alert if it hasn't come on TV yet. I mean, it was earlier today. Emma Coburn from Colorado, who was favored to medal, looks like she ended up finishing in 14th, very disappointing, and then disqualified. So that was the race I was looking forward to most. But there's been a lot of good stories out of the Olympics. You know, you always love to see them. I think the Olympics, because of the fact that unlike some of these other sports where, oh, we'll get them tomorrow, we'll get them next week, we'll get them next year. It's usually, 4 years. It'll be 3 years this year. But being 4 years, usually, you never know if you're going to make it back. So sometimes you see that heartbreak out there. And sometimes you see people triumph. So that's why I love the Olympics personally, because it's your one shot sometimes. Capture Olympic gold. You've been working your entire life. You get one shot to do it.
Yeah. It sometimes you just got to take advantage of what you got. Now, Deb in chat, track and field is looking great. Yeah, so track and field, there was some really big hype around Sydney McLaughlin and Delilah Muhammad. Their duel in the 400-meter hurdles. That was fantastic. By the way, you want to talk about lowlights? What happened to the U.S. women's soccer team? Oh, my goodness. What is going on? So I had to vent about this the other day. Obviously, I didn't have the show to vent on. Maybe I should just do pop-up shows just to vent about things. I don't know how you guys would like that or not. But, man, did it seem like between the U.S. men's national basketball team, the women's soccer, I feel like some of our top teams that always are guaranteed to win gold have just I don't know if it's you just assume you're going to win or what. I mean, but obviously U.S. women's national team in soccer falls short of, they're playing in the bronze medal game. They better win that damn bronze, I'll tell you that. Because if they don't, you're going to hear a lot from USA fans. I guess we've been spoiled here, Team USA. But yeah, I mean, that's something that has happened since we've been on the show most recently as well. So what were your thoughts when you saw that?
Well, I would expect them as well to win gold. It goes also back to the USA women's softball team. I thought they were going to win gold. I thought they were a shoo-in for that. Of course, they won the game right before where they played the same country. They won that game, which didn't really matter anything. And then they go to the gold medal match and they lose that one, end up with silver. So disappointing to see. But I will say, stick around for later because we will be talking USA men's soccer.
That's right.
In the Gold Cup.
That's right. Well, all right, one side note before we move on to the next topic. And I don't know if you've seen the equestrians. If you haven't seen equestrian, go Google it. But there are sumo wrestlers that are holding the equestrian like poles. Like they have like statue sumo wrestlers. And the Olympians are saying that equestrian jumpers say the horses spook to the they're spooking when they see these sumo wrestlers holding the jumping poles. Go look it up. It's fantastic. Equestrians.
I'm gonna look it up now.
Equestrian sumo wrestlers. It is the most eerie and weird thing to put on like it's such a weird event, right? And I don't know, for some reason they just decided to throw out just statues of sumo wrestlers, and it's scaring the horses, man. Don't be scaring the horses when you have such an elegant competition. I feel like it's such a high end, like you think like prestige, and you see just these sumo wrestlers with these just massive bellies just hanging out holding these things, and it's just like, what? So weird. That's just one of those weird things that they threw out there. It fits, right? It's Japan, but still. PD next in chat. Canada? Really? Yeah, Canada. I don't know. We haven't lost to Canada, and I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a while, though. It's been over, was it 20-some years that we haven't lost to Canada ever? And sure enough, yeah, crazy.
That's the thing about the Olympics. You never know what's going to happen. That's why you got to watch.
That's why you got to watch. But yeah, so that's what we have for you here. Keep an eye on the rest of these Olympics. Obviously, we're kind of getting towards the end here as the days go through. So, hey, enjoy it while you can. Soon enough, we'll have the Winter Olympics, though, so you'll have that too. But as far as that goes, that's going to be what we have for our Olympic catch-up. So, from here, Marie D in chat, the face plant by the long jumper. Oh, I did see that. That was so okay. Yeah. So there was there was a long jumper, and I saw this highlight actually this afternoon, and it kind of popped up. But man, so this guy just starts getting on this pace, and he is just cruising, and he goes for his long jump, and he takes the jump and just loses himself and just face plants into the dirt, and he just lays there. He just like, he doesn't move really right off the bat, and it's just like you could tell he's just like, what was that? Like, oh, it was hilarious. Thank you for bringing that up, Marie. It was fantastic to like relive that. Go check out on YouTube if you haven't seen it. If you're in the chat, it's hilarious. I mean, some of these highlights, or lowlights, I should say, really do come through and are fun to just reflect on. But yeah, that was solid. Thank you for reminding us. You haven't seen that one, Brandon?
I have not seen that one.
Oh, you got
to YouTube it.
YouTube it. Check it out. Yeah. So there we have it there. And then finally, we have NBA free agency, and we have fallout from all of this. So between the Lakers getting to be 150 years old on their roster and the East getting better. I mean, the East is definitely a lot better than they have been. PD Nix, there had to be a sniper in the crowd. And then Marie D, you have to see it. It's hilarious. Oh, man. I love those sniper videos. They just like have like athletes or different like people walking around town, and they had like the sniper, and they just show people like just tripping over themselves, or like the football clips where they have breakaway to the end zone and they trip and fall before the end zone by themselves. It's so great. Oh my gosh. We need to have a special on that. That would be incredible. But diving into some of the NBA free agency, this was wild. So the Nuggets locally, I feel like did a great job. They didn't make the biggest moves by any means, but I feel like they made the moves that did get us better. We ended up moving up about, I think we were 30-1 to win it all. And the Nuggets ended up after free agency 20-1. So we creeped up a little bit further from where we were after free agency. And we have Jamal Murray coming back kind of maybe halfway to 2/3 of the way through the season. Who knows? I think we have a really good team, a better defensive team. So I love what the Nuggets did. But I want to talk about some of these others. The Lakers are just like poaching players left and right because they're trying to bring back the 2012 All-Star team. They're trying to bring back all of the all-team from 2012 and just have a blast with it, right? Melo, LeBron, Trevor Ariza, Marc Gasol, Dwight Howard, Wayne Ellington. Literally, they only have 4 players on their team under the age of 30. And one of them is Anthony Davis, their best player, who only plays 25 games a year. So even one of your young 4 guys isn't going to give you anything because, he's just never on the court. They call what does Charles Barkley call him? Street clothes. Anthony Street Clothes Davis because he's always in street clothes. That's just what they've done to put together this team. So the Lakers obviously have been putting together some strange moves, but I don't know. I hate the Lakers, so this is fine for me. A lot of people are saying, oh man, my cousin is a big Lakers fan, and he's like top 3 in the West. I'm like, I'll take the under. There's no way they're going to finish top 3 in the West. Just a preview there but I mean, between what they did or didn't do, they tied up $120 million between 3 players, but they can't spend more than $142 million, I believe, this offseason. So they have 3 players making almost 95% of their roster, their cap space, which is insane. I'm going to go into some of the winners here in a minute, but I mean, obviously everyone likes talking about the Lakers, or as Marie says in the chat, Lakers. What do you think about the Lakers?
Well, let me tell you one thing. I think the Lakers definitely are going to be hurting on defense coming up. And I also think that there's not going to be enough shots to go around for all those guys. Unless you see some of those guys really take on a different role than they're used to. And I'm looking at Westbrook there. That guy likes to have the ball in his hands. He really is that type of player. How is that going to work with LeBron James? Unless he changes to becoming really a guy that's going to be willing to dish the ball, I don't see how that's going to work. I do think that Carmelo Anthony maybe fits the mold a little better because of the fact of how he changed his game for Portland. So I could see him being able to adapt a little better than some of these young players who probably still have the ego about them, where Carmelo Anthony.
Got you muted again, but it's all right. We'll catch you up.
Help out with some of that. I that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to put on LeBron James for as old as he is to carry a team if needed down the stretch. How long can LeBron James really be the guy really at the forefront?
Well, we saw LeBron James that have trouble finishing a season last year with the injuries, and this is not exactly a big off season like last year. This is a similar short off season. So I mean, we saw injuries, we saw everything else. Marie D in chat, he picked his team. Yeah, he did. He's like, this is something that he always has his finger on the pulse when it comes to who he wants to bring in. And he was honestly looking at this roster, I feel like they were grasping at straws. I feel like they just really they didn't have a lot of flexibility with who they wanted to get. So they were like, all right, sure, Westbrook. And then we don't have any money to pay anybody. So let's just ask everybody to take pay cuts and come here for zero money. They're doing their best job to save that money the rest of the way because they can't afford to bring anybody else in. They're done. But that's just where we're at with the Lakers. Man, they're old, man. Melo, 37. Braun, 36. Gasol is a stiff, 36. Trevor Ariza, I didn't even know he was still playing basketball. He's 36. Dwight Howard's 35. He's in there just to throw like elbows and stuff into like the side of Nikola Jokic. Like Kent Bazemore. I mean, they're bringing back like guys that have been with this team like twice. In the next couple of years, they're going to bring back Ingram. They're going to bring back Kuzma. You know, that's what they do.
If for some reason they can stay healthy, would this be a dangerous team?
If they can stay healthy and play all the games, I think they could be a top 5 team. I don't know if I think a top 5 team in the West. The West is still strong, but I don't think they would really be. I just don't anticipate them to do that. I don't think with their age and all the mileage, Russ having a rough fit with them. Like Russ needs the ball more than any player in the league. So I don't see it. But I will say, here's my thing. I think the East is looking way better than I would have ever expected. They're starting the trend to being almost up there with the West. So you have the Brooklyn Nets with Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. You have the Bucks who won with Giannis, Middleton, and Drew Holiday. Jimmy Butler, Bam, and Lowry in Miami. Levine, Vucevic, DeRozan, Lonzo Ball in Chicago, which I think they're winners here in this. I feel like they maybe not necessarily able to play a lot of defense over there in Chicago, but their starting lineup is probably one of the best lineups of any team, top to bottom, starting 5 in the East. I think they could be good. And then Embiid, Tobias, and Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons as of right now. Tatum and Brown, which I think the Boston Celtics are losers in this one. They didn't make any moves, and everyone got better than them in the East. So, especially with a coaching change, they don't. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see Boston recovering here. PD Knicks, Heat are going to be legit. I really like them. Murray and the Mavericks got Dame today. That is not. Are you serious? Did I miss that? Let me double check that. I didn't. If they did, I did not see any highlights or notifications. Ooh, let's see. Are you sure it wasn't a fake Woj account? I've fallen for fake Woj accounts before. Let's see. From what I can tell, I am not seeing any major news on it. So I might want not to call you out there, Marie, but I think that might not be. It might be a fake Woj account because I fell for that last year with Lonzo Ball. When I texted Scotty, I was like, the Nuggets got Lonzo. And then I looked and it was like a Woj account that wasn't a legit Woj account, but it had the same like profile picture. That just shows you, there's a lot out there when it comes to Twitterverse and all that stuff. So, no, Marie, I love it though. I mean, I got excited for a second. I was like, man, Dallas is going to be in, or, as far as if they got Lillard, woo-hoo-hoo. Macaulay Jones, you're making me hell excited. Oh man, see, we're here to see. We love making you excited, but that means you got to follow the stream in order to be that excited. So hit that follow button, Macaulay. We missed you. Thank you for popping back in for the stream here. No, it's all good, Marie. We love you. But I will say the Miami Heat came out really strong in this. I want to say the Bulls came out really strong as winners in this one. I feel like the Pelicans and the New York Knicks kind of fell a little short in this one as well. And then obviously the Boston Celtics. I thought they needed to make some big moves. They ended up losing Evan Fournier to the Knicks, which, I think, man, I just don't see the fact that they really are going to be much better, the Boston Celtics, I mean. Winners also, Chris Paul's bank account, because he got paid. He's in the latter end of his career, but he's getting hella paid. You want to know a loser? Was Dennis Schroeder, point guard for the former point guard for the Lakers, passed up on a 4-year, $84 million contract because he thought he was worth over 100,000. And then all the free agency happens, and now he can't get on a team, and he's barely going to even make. He'd be lucky to make like $5 to 10 million over the next handful of years. It's crazy. He really shot himself in the foot because he thought he was a baller, and now he's not. Macaulay Jones, is DeMar Rosen a Crip? I couldn't tell you if DeMar Rosen is a Crip or not. He could be. I'm not going to say he is, but good question, I guess. Appreciate you throwing it in the chat. Yeah, he might be. Brandon, what do you think? What was kind of some of your takeaways when it came to NBA free agency?
Well, you talked about the Knicks. I thought it was interesting that the Knicks were basically trying to get Carmelo Anthony. The first time around, that situation did not work out well. Obviously, he went to the Lakers. So that was one of the things that I took away. It's crazy how much these guys make these days in the NBA. I mean, free agency, talk about the money that goes around these days for these guys. It's just insane. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see where the chips fall, but we'll see how everybody, how the pieces fall at the end of the day. I did see LaMarcus Aldridge is considering a comeback.
Yeah.
Is he a good candidate for the now Lakers? I mean, I think he could fit well into that graphic you have there, right? I mean, wasn't he an all-star around 2012?
Should we bring back John Stockton and Karl Malone too and have them play for the Lakers? I mean, yeah, literally.
I would put them in the East though, so that 90s team could play this 2012 All-Star game in the NBA Finals.
We got the 2012 NBA All-Star team coming at you in 2021. What? Macaulay Jones, it's for the East. Miami have it. The big three frauds aren't going to know what hit them. I'm not going to lie. I'm really loving what the Heat did. They did, I mean, obviously Pat Riley, he's not afraid to make moves, and I think this does add some consistency to that team to where they can be really, really, they could have a guy that's strong with the ball who can score from the point. And, you still have a developing, between Jimmy Butler, you have Bam Adebayo, who's getting better and better. And, I mean, Kyle Lowry is just so strong with the ball. I feel like that's a nice little core. Now, they need a couple guys to step up and shoot the ball well. I mean, they need to make sure that they have that depth coming off the bench playing at a high level to continue. But they're well coached. Eric Spoelstra has gotten that team. They made it to the NBA Finals. Really, really, last year, before a year and a half ago in the bubble. So he's not a bad coach there either. I think the Miami Heat really have moved themselves in the top echelon in the East, where they can really compete with, the Nets, the Bucks, the Sixers, which we're still trying to figure out the Sixers. Marie D, what's your thoughts on the Jazz this year? I hate the Jazz. I always hate the Jazz, and I'm glad they lost last year. I hate the Jazz, but they brought back who they wanted to, and that was Macaulay Jones. Thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Thank you and welcome to the Action Lab. We have another lab rat, guys. Let's do it. Appreciate the follow. I do like the fact that they were able to get back Conley. They paid a lot for him, and then I believe they added another couple pieces as well. Nothing really substantial. I believe Hassan Whiteside went over to the Utah Jazz as well, which he's obviously he could be pretty good as well as a backup to Rudy Gobert. But I think the Jazz will be right there. They've proved to me, they proved me wrong last year. I didn't think they would make it as far as they did, and they ended up they really ended up doing some amazing things that I couldn't explain. Then they showed me who I really thought they were. They are who we thought they were, and no one let them off the hook. They got bounced in the playoffs. But Yeah, I mean, they're going to be right there in the mix in the West, and I hope the Nuggets are in the mix as well. I do think the Nuggets are deeper than they've ever been in a long, long time, so I can't wait for that. Let's see. Oladipo and Hero. Oladipo, I can't type on my phone. I think you're referring to like Miami. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, they need... I think isn't Oladipo a free agent again? I believe he is, but yeah. What are your thoughts, Brandon?
That's all you. You're the NBA man on this side.
No,
I will say you thrown out a lot of winners and losers on what your take was. Who's the number one winner so far in free agency, and who's the biggest loser? If you just had to pick one for each.
Ooh, man. If I had to pick one for each, the Bulls get a little I love what the Bulls did, man. They went from a team that like no one really gave a shit about for a long time. Obviously, they needed to build around Levine and Vucevic, and they did that. And they have a hell of a lineup now. And so they need some depth to go. I think they have a couple pieces on the backside of their roster that they can plug in, coming off the bench, but it could get better. So I think they should probably make some moves maybe around mid-season potentially to get some depth there. But I think the Bulls really knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. And then as far as losers, I'm struggling to figure out in the East, everyone's getting better. Every single team is getting better except for the Boston Celtics. And that's a team that always is trying to keep pace. They didn't do that. They still have their same Jason Tatum, and Brown. That's all they got. So they lost Fournier, and yeah, I just don't really see them competing. They're going to be at the bottom 7-8 seed if they're not careful this season, especially with the coaching change and everything else. So yeah, Brad Stevens is moving up to the front office in case you didn't know, and he's going to be managing games from up there. And he was a great coach, don't get me wrong, but who are you going to plug in to run this show? And I don't see them doing well. So they needed to make more moves than they did, and they didn't make those happen.
Are there any big moves still that you could see being made?
I mean, there are still some free agents. I think, let me pull up the list of best free agents. And let me let's see who's left, because there's not that many left. I mean, there's some decent names. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard is still technically a free agent, but we think he's going to stay. That could, and that's not a guarantee, but he's had some issues with, from what it sounds like, the medical staff over there in the LA Clippers office there. So, yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere, though. I think he's staying put. Let's see, who else is available? So Dennis Schroeder, who did pass up on that one deal. Danny Green is still available. Kelly Oubre, Reggie Jackson. So
that's an interesting one. Yeah, that'd be a good pull for somebody.
A lot of guards. Lou Williams, Lauri Markkanen, a big guy. He's technically in Chicago. If they could keep him, that would be fantastic. But Andre Iguodala. So I mean, there's nothing.
Iguodala's going to go to the Lakers because he's 38. So
probably. That's
fits right in.
He fits into that demographic.
Yeah.
PD Knicks. Oladipo signed with Miami yesterday. Debacola. Men's 4x4 relay track just finished 6th place. Won't be the finals. Too bad. There you go. See, we got all the updates. We don't even need to watch the Olympics, even though we should be. We get all the updates right here, even when we're streaming live. But yeah, so that's where we're at with NBA free agency. Still some things to go. There might be some trades. Who knows? I mean, as Marie mentioned, I mean, Dame Lillard is still on the block to potentially get traded. So if that happens, that would be insane. But we'll see. But that's where we have our news rundown to get you caught up on all of the details with all that. So we have Fact or Fiction coming up next. We're going to take a little brief 1-minute intermission. to get that all set up for you. And then we are going to be coming back. We're going to do some fact or fiction. But here's the thing, guys. We need your help. We need you guys to give us fact or fiction on the various topics we're going to be covering. We have 4 topics, I believe, 4 or 5, that we have statements that we need you to help us on if it's going to be fact or fiction. Marie D, are you on Twitter yet? We are on Twitter. I believe it's Action Lab Twitch on Twitter, I believe. We have the if you search Action Lab, I'll get you the I'll find it here on our intermission. I'll make sure it's the right one, but I'll get you that link. So hang tight. We're gonna be back in less than a minute, and we will be hitting you with some fact or fiction to help us out on that. Be right back, guys. All right, we are back. And by the way, you'll see above that, oh man, we are halfway to our follower goal for the night. Macaulay Jones, 96. Thank you so much for hitting that follow button. We're 1 away, guys. So if you're here, we want you to hit that follow button and get us to that 100% tonight. If you're not following already, because I love seeing complete things. You know, like it just seems incomplete. You just want it filled up so bad, right? By the way, it's called Action Lab Twitch, Marie, as you can see on the screen right now. So find on Twitter, Action Lab Twitch, and you will find our tag for all your Twitter needs. We are also getting on TikTok and some of the other platforms as well. So we'll have more of those added, but appreciate all the love on all of our social media platforms, and especially all our followers here. 1 more follower. That's all we need, guys. Let's go. Come on. All right. We got some fact or fiction for you guys that we want to get you all up to date with. And I'm already fact and you're already fiction here before we even start. That's how we do it. All right. So fact or fiction. Now, this is a segment we typically like to do not each and every week, but we pull this out once in a while, and we talk about what we think is going to be fact or fiction. But here's the thing. This is interactive, so we need your help in the chat on what you guys think as well on any of these statements we're about to share with you. So we're going to show a statement. We're going to go into some details on the behind the scenes of that. And then we're going, like the background info on it. And we're going to try to say, all right, this is fact or fiction. So that's what we're starting off with here. Now, we are going to start with fact or fiction. And do you want to go first or me on this one?
I'll let you go first. So fact or fiction, Chris? Team USA will not make it to the gold medal match.
Okay, so this is an interesting one because right now, Team USA has had some struggles leading into the Olympics games. They obviously lost their opening game. They haven't been in sync. Now, one of the teams that they lost to going into the Olympics was the Australian team, who they're scheduled to play here in their very next game. So, with that being said, Australia is a very good team. They actually, their size is their big advantage here, and they out-rebounded the Team USA quite a bit in their first game. And that's the biggest problem with USA basketball, is the fact that the biggest name, or the biggest issues, is they lack size. I mean, you have some of your biggest players. Draymond Green is one of your biggest guys on this team. That, I mean, obviously they brought out JaVale McGee and some of those guys, but they're not like impact players as much as some of the other guys that may be on the Australian roster. And I mean, I don't know. This is a tough one for me. Joe Ingles, he's a forward for the Utah Jazz. Aaron Bynes, Matthew Dellavedova. I mean, Australia, I feel like, is one of the better teams in the world at the moment. They've really come through and played at a high level through the course of all of this Olympic Games. And this is a tough one, man, but here's what I'm going to say. I already throwing out different things. So we already have a couple in the chat. Marie D, fact. Deborah Cola, fact. So in the chat, we already say they will not make it to the gold medal game. The spread on this game, last time I checked, was 12 points favorite for the Team USA. I will say I would take the 12 points if I was betting on the Australians, getting plus 12 points if you're betting on them. However, oh man, this is going to be a tough one, because the Australians really know how to play. The Team USA really knows they're not a big fan of the offense they're running, but they're going to need to knock down shots. And will they be able to do that? They have an all-star team. Marie in chat is saying fact that they will not make it to the gold medal game. Deb in chat is saying the fact that they won't make it to the gold medal game. I'm going to go fiction. I think they make it to the gold medal game. I do think that they have got on their stride here. They have definitely started playing with each other, understanding how they play with each other a little bit more. So that's what I think is going to carry them a little bit further in this. If they can shoot like they're supposed to, they have one of the best offensive teams constructed in the world at the very moment. If they can hit shots, Kevin Durant's looking a little more comfortable. Dame Lillard's looking a little more comfortable. I mean, I think they make it to the gold medal game. Do I think they cover 12 points? No, I think it's going to be a close game. I would bet Australia plus 12, but I say they make it. Now, do you think Team USA will make it?
I think this team is not very well constructed. You're
wrong. You're not wrong.
I think we go through this cycle with Team USA basketball, right? Of where we have some great superstars, a well-constructed team, people buy in. We got to show the world that USA has the best basketball, right? They win the gold medal, and then slowly, Olympic after Olympic, you start seeing guys, I don't want to play this year. So you don't get some of the best players. And then when you run up a team against a team like Australia, who has quite a bit of NBA players, I think you're going to find out the result tonight is Team USA, they're not going to make it to the gold medal match, I don't think. I think they lose tonight. I think Kevin Durant's going to do everything in his power to try and will his way to the gold medal match. I don't think he can carry this team like he has been all the way into the gold medal match. I think they fall a little short tonight. I do think they will bring home a bronze medal, a very disappointing bronze medal, but I would predict that in 2025, they will win the gold medal, though. I'll go that far and say they have a very good team in 2025. But this is the year that they're going to disappoint, I think.
So, Marie in chat, unfortunately, the pros are exhausted and not enough cohesiveness. That's the biggest story in going into this, was the cohesiveness, plus the story of them not loving what Popovich is throwing out there offensively. So, as far as...
I listened to a recent podcast from Team USA's president, how he was saying Originally, it was between Popovich and Coach K for who he was going to select as the basketball coach years ago. And he went with Coach K because he just wasn't feeling it with Popovich. Ends up they go with Popovich this time around. It's not working out so well. Maybe that gut feeling from years ago, maybe that was the right feeling. Maybe Popovich just doesn't have what it takes to be a coach at the international level.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. USA is, I think Popovich is on his last legs. Honestly, he's kind of starting to be that get off my lawn guy. Like, here's the thing. Like, I think Scotty was mentioning this in previous streams where it's literally he gets asked about, losing these games. It's like, well, you're losing a lot of games. Like, it's fair for the media to do their job and ask you about it. Don't get upset when you have the results that you have and all of a sudden you're getting asked difficult questions. Like, you better that's your job, is to answer those difficult questions. And I mean, the U.S. has dropped 2 straight games to Australia. Going back to they edged the Americans 91-83 in Las Vegas on July 12th, and then prior to the 2019 World Cup in Melbourne by a score of 98-94. So they play a little bit more. They play a little bit more. Just gritty, rebound, controlling the basketball, playing smart, playing slow, getting the ball out of the shooter's hands. So I totally get that. PD Nix in chat. Scotty's saying he would give me USA -12. So you're actually on the other side. I don't think I would take plus. I would take plus points on that one. But yeah, rebounding is going to be the key here. If USA can out rebound and hustle to those rebounds, I think they have a really, really good shot to cover that. But I do think they win this game. I just don't know. They've already been embarrassed. They've heard about it. NBA guys. I feel like they go through these where they hear a lot of chirping from the media, from fans. Like, are you for real? Do you guys really have what it takes? And they're not going to let. They might. Man. Now I'm getting over to that -12. They might try to embarrass the Aussies. I don't know. Who knows? But you got fact. They won't make it. I got fiction. They will. So that's where we're at.
Split on this.
We're split, but I like it. I like it. So let's pull these down and let's get to our next topic here. And that is, hold on. Let me see if I could. Oops. All right, here we go. So U.S. men's soccer. This is another one that we just experienced this past week with USA winning the Gold Cup in just dramatic fashion. They came through and they just crushed. This was a close game all the way through, but they crushed their way through the whole CONCACAF, and they really just played really well. This is a nice, promising young team that's on its way up. They've really been competing at a high level internationally. Now, this, again, was a bunch of probably B players for the USA, maybe a couple B+ players mixed in. Not quite their whole A team. Same thing with Mexico. Mexico's playing with a lot of B+ players as well. They had a lot of history going into this one, obviously. Mexico has come into this winning way more CONCACAF, dominating the whole region more than any other team, and they have really set the standard for excellence when it comes to soccer. They just have always been the best team. However, USA has been on a nice little stretch here, winning this tournament, winning the previous tournament, international tournament, and just their young talent is really coming through. So, you go first on this one. Fact or fiction, U.S. men's soccer has surpassed Mexico as the best team in the CONCACAF region.
I'm going to have to go with fiction on that one.
Okay.
I understand that, the U.S. and Mexico, some of them weren't playing with some of their best players. I will say that Mexico currently, they're in the Olympics, so there's quite a few players that are on the world stage playing right now.
Okay.
Whereas there's none in the U.S. So I would say maybe it slightly favors. There was probably a greater quality of player for Team USA for this one. I did enjoy the win. My in-laws are big Mexico fans, so I very much enjoyed this one. I said, how many times do we have to beat Mexico to prove that we're better than you? But I don't think in the long run, the U.S. Men's soccer has surpassed them. I think Mexico's probably going to win a bronze medal on the Olympic stage. Like I said, the world stage. It's only going to further them as a nation for that sport. I also think that's such a big sport there. Soccer and boxing are the top two sports there. Whereas here, I think Team USA is always going to run up against a certain level of quality players that they can get, because a lot of great athletes are constantly going to be going to other sports, the NFL, the NBA, whatever, baseball. There's so many other options. I just don't think that they're gonna pass them long term as far as being one of the best teams in North America.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this back and forth, and part of me was like fact, but then the reason I would pick fact was the potential. And potential is not now, right? So I was thinking about it more and more, and I was like, you know what? It's got to be fiction. And actually, PD Nix is kind of on the same wavelength as me. So Scotty in the chat says, nice couple of results, but got to prove it in the World Cup qualifying after missing the last World Cup. Win qualifying, and I will say fact. So I kind of agree here. I think that, even though it's a promising team, we have a lot of really good talent coming up, and we have a lot of, this is probably the best U.S. soccer has been in a long, long time, if not forever. I mean, when it comes to our youth and our promising core of guys that have, taken the CONCACAF, but then also, we have more guys that are going to Europe, consistently now. We have we have a player that's Pulisic, who's playing for a English Premier League team at the moment. So those are big time, situations that we can really capitalize on, of having such good talent and being able to combine that with giving these guys some really solid experience in big games against big opponents like Mexico in the CONCACAF. I just really think we're just getting better and better. We're starting to be more on that national stage of publicity when it comes to being televised, getting kids in front of this, growing our youth. So instead of maybe seeing basketball and football as a sport that kids want to get into, they see the success of men's soccer, and they're like, I want to play soccer when I get older. That makes a difference. These results make a difference. And the potential for them, as Scotty said in the chat, I think seriously, if they could do well in the next major tournament and qualify for the World Cup, I feel like they're on their way. And I feel like at that point, we could have something really, really big brewing when it comes to USA soccer being for real. So
I'm going to have to hold you back. I agree with the chat. They got to do it in the World Cup, I think.
Yeah,
I think they got to do it
and
in the World
here's
Cup.
and
do it on the biggest stage.
And here's the thing: they're not close when it comes to the world. They're not close to European teams, clubs. They're not close to South American clubs. They're still far off for sure. Mexico even is far off from some of those clubs.
That's true.
So I mean, we got to put it in perspective here. We're arguing over AAA baseball teams right now. is really what we're doing. But who's the better AAA baseball team? Right now it's Mexico, but not for long. That's what we're saying, guys. And so
2-0 recently. 2-0.
Yeah. So go USA. So yeah, we'll see what ends up happening here in World Cup qualifying. I'm going to be glued to it. I hope you guys are too, because it's going to be exciting. If you watch that CONCACAF final with USA and Mexico, it was exhilarating. I'm telling you, we covered it live here on the Action Lab, and we had a blast. We were trying to cover other topics. We were trying to cover other things, and we couldn't stop. So we just ended up live commentating the game. It was fantastic. So that's where we're at here with this one. But next on our list here, we have... Hold on. Uh-oh. Lakers... Oh, fact or fiction? And this is me first, I believe. fact or fiction? Go ahead.
Oh, let me give it. Yeah, fact or fiction? The Lakers will finish as a top 3 seed in the West this season. Now, you did kind of answer this one previously, but it's not too late to change your answer.
Okay, yeah, I kind of alluded to this. I got carried away. But the Lakers ended up making a ton of moves in the offseason. Now, they made a lot of moves to get older. Not too many teams. And like I would say if they made some moves to get older, but they had like quality older guys, great. But when you have guys, again, I'll throw out these ages for you and let me know your thoughts here, because your oldest player on the team is Melo, 37. LeBron, 36, who couldn't finish a full season last year because he was injured. Marc Gasol, he's a stiff, and he hasn't done anything in years. Trevor Ariza, I didn't even know he was still in the league because I haven't seen him play on any rosters, but he's in the league. He's 36. Dwight Howard, he's in there just to like make people just crazy in the middle, like foul and frustrated. So there's that. He's 35. Wayne Ellington. Wayne Ellington is a backup point guard for all intensive purposes. No, by the way, I haven't listed a single guy on this team outside of maybe Melo that can shoot consistently. Trevor Ariza is a historically good shooter, but I haven't seen him play recently. Kent Bazemore was with the Lakers. This is a reunion, by the way. Ellington played with them. Bazemore played with them. Ariza played with them. Dwight Howard played with them. Everyone played with him. And then we have Russell Westbrook. He's 32. He's nice and young. Can he shoot? Nope. He can't shoot.
No.
You got your first guy under the age of 30 is Anthony Davis. I'll tell you, if he can play more than 30 games a season, sure, he's your best player on that team. He's never healthy. Even going back to when he was with the New Orleans Pelicans, he was never healthy. Kendrick Nunn is a nice young player that they got from Miami. Now, he's good, not great. Malik Monk, 23. I haven't seen him play a quality game in ever. And that's pretty much it. Horton Tucker is our last guy, who I think he's good, but what's he going to do? So here's my thing. I just don't see where the shooting's coming from. I don't see the mix between Russell and Braun and anybody else there. I don't see how that meshes. Deb in chat's already got fiction here. Means men's shot put took gold and silver World Cup. Grant Holloway took silver in 110 meter hurdles. So hey, we're doing something here.
There we go.
But yeah, I think a lot of people, and the Lakers are still way up there in odds to win the NBA championship. This team, I didn't have belief in the Utah Jazz last year. I thought they were frauds, and they kind of turned out to be in the end. They got further than I expected, but they were what I thought they were. The Lakers, if the Lakers finished higher than 4th, I'm going to be shocked. I don't think that they have what it takes, and that's including injuries and guys staying healthy and playing consistently throughout the course of the season. I just don't see the shooting to keep up with other teams, and I don't see based off of these ages, I don't think they could hang with younger guys on the court for for a long period of time without having to like sit out, or even just, what do they call that? Game management, or where you have to rest your guys. Popovich is great at this, sitting guys, periodic games. So if you don't have your guys playing because of, resting them throughout the course of the season because it's game management, whatever, are you going to win those games when you're not at full strength because you have your best guys on the bench because you're saving them for the playoffs? Like, none of this makes sense to me. Fiction. The Lakers will not finish as a top 3 seed in the West this season.
Okay, I'm going to go opposite of you.
Ooh.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go out on a limb.
I like it.
I'm going to say that the Lakers do finish in the top 3.
Oops.
I'm going to say possibly possibly they're gonna gel a little better than we all think. A bunch of guys who are older who really just want to hang on for as long as they can. They're gonna sit into their roles just so they can ride out the glory days in LA on the glory team. Some of these guys that you traditionally wouldn't think would take those roles. I do think a big piece of that, though, is staying healthy. I'm not sure they can stay healthy all the way through. And I don't like Westbrook on this Laker team. I don't think he fits in any way into this team. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point during the season they maybe try and move him. Maybe get a little younger by getting rid of him. I don't know. But I'm going to say that somehow this team sneaks into the top 3, probably at number 3. I don't think they're going to try too hard to get 1 or 2 seed. A little bit of home court advantage early on in the playoffs. I'm going to just go on a limb and say yes, fact.
Interesting. Now, here's the thing. If they would have gotten shooters, I would have probably had a different outlook on this, because like Bradley Beal was a guy that I felt was going to fit incredibly well with LeBron and AD. They have a shooter, a guy who can like cut to the basket, also make threes, to complement LeBron James style and Anthony Davis style. And I just honestly really thought,
you got the best shooter of all time almost with Carmelo Anthony. What more do you need?
Oh, get out of here. That's not even.
What more do you need? Did you see his 3-point percentage last year? I think it was 39%. Maybe Carmelo Anthony's going to play a bigger role than we think on the shooting side of things.
So, if Marie is right and the Mavericks somehow pull Damian Lillard away from Portland, which Portland, I was looking at that lineup, and that lineup's awful. There's no way Dame Lillard's going to be happy the course of the season. He's going to be gone eventually. But you finish. All right, so keep in mind, top 3 seed. The Jazz finished first. They didn't get worse, but they didn't necessarily get better. So I feel like they're hovering around the same wavelength. The Suns, they didn't get worse. They didn't necessarily get a whole lot better either. They finished number 2 in the West. The Nuggets finished number 3 in the West. They got better. However, they have an injury to Jamal Murray, but they have an
unknown.
A deeper roster. Once he comes back, that's a whole different ballgame. We had a good draft with some good 3-point shooters coming into the draft. So, by the way, Lakers finished 7th. You had the Clippers, Mavs, and Trailblazers. Trailblazers won't make the playoffs, I don't think. Or they'll make like a 10th or 9th seed, battle for that play-in game. The Mavericks, they didn't get better. They were arguably one of my top losers in the free agency unless they get someone bigger to complement. I don't trust Porzingis. He's not going to play. The Clippers don't have Kawhi. So those teams, maybe the Lakers leapfrog the Blazers, the Mavericks, and the Clippers, and those teams fall back down. Another team I didn't hate, the offseason for the Warriors has been awesome. Between their drafting and players that they've brought in, I think the Warriors potentially are going to have a better finish than the Lakers. I think the Warriors could finish potentially 4th. Then maybe the Lakers are in that 5th, 6th, 7th kind of area. I don't see them finishing in the top 3.
You did talk a little bit about the East and the West balancing out possibly a little more.
I did.
Even though the West will be strong, I think. Maybe it's not as strong as it has been for the last maybe decade or so.
I will
maybe that allows the Lakers to sneak in to the top 3 is what I'm thinking.
I will say the East has come up to the standards that the West has set. Now, the West still is pretty good, but the East is really starting to look a little bit more dangerous moving forward. So I really like just a lot of teams in the East and what they did, but the West, Spurs are going to be, where they always are in the playoff hunt. Pelicans didn't really do much. Yeah, everything else is just shit. So, Grizzlies shit. So yeah, I really don't see them finishing higher than. I think 4th is their ceiling, in my opinion. Let's see, Marie in chat, back in fiction unless they stay healthy. So she's on the same wavelength as you. With as long as they stay healthy, they're going to be good. They have, I think Carmelo Anthony, as crazy as this sounds, is the key. Him shooting the ball is the key for them to be successful, and he's the oldest player on that roster at 37.
You gotta manage him. You gotta manage him, though. You're right.
But here's the thing too. Is LeBron willing to be a guy that doesn't need to have the ball in his hands because Westbrook has the ball in his hands? Is LeBron willing to give up the keys to the Mercedes?
See, that's where Westbrook doesn't fit in. He doesn't fit into any of it. I think actually bringing in some of these older guys, and in particular Carmelo Anthony, gives extra motivation to LeBron James. So he's won how many times already now? He's won to how many championships? He probably at this point needs some extra motivation to keep going. And what better way than to bring on one of his best friends, Carmelo Anthony, win him a title so he can sail off into the sunset. I love that signing. I love some of these older guys. I think that's fine. But Westbrook just does not fit in anywhere in there. I don't understand how they're going to make that happen. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point he gets traded, even if it's early on in the season.
That's a hot take for me. I feel like that's actually a decent take to jump in on. Maybe we should have done that. Fact or fiction, Westbrook will finish as a Laker this season. Maybe we should have threw that out there. But
it'll be next week, huh?
Maybe that's our next fact or fiction. We'll throw that out there. But by the way, we're at one more, I believe, fact or fiction statement here before we stop and wrap up the show. But we are halfway to the our follower goal tonight. So if you're here and you're just watching, having a great time, hit that follow button. It doesn't cost you anything, and we appreciate all of it. So far, Macaulay Jones has got us halfway there. We just need one more tonight. If you're watching, just hit that follow button. Make sure you're part of the Action Lab family. We just passed 40. We're at 40 right now. We want to get to that 50 mark. So we're only asking for one more. And yeah, Marie D, speak up, people. We need that chat popping. We need it flowing. Let's have some fun, guys. Let's go. But we appreciate each and every one of you here, and we love the fact that you guys are joining in and having a great time with us. So that means more to us than anything. But we have one more fact or fiction statement here, and we will get to that. So this has to do with Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, if in case you missed it, there was a little bit of an article that surfaced about Phillip Rivers being a potential comeback candidate. And, quote, I have not completely ruled out a return. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because he, when he left, he was still
in the race against
he was
time.
still good. Like he wasn't a bad player when he left. He wasn't a great quarterback either. But at the same time, hey, he's contemplating it. It's out there. So I think you're first on this one, Brandon. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to throw this out there. Fact or fiction, Phillip Rivers will return to the NFL after his statement of he hasn't ruled out a return.
I'm going to say that's fiction for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
I think, one, he was probably asked because of the recent injuries with the quarterback situation in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
However, he recently took a position at a Catholic high school being a coach that runs, I believe, until the end of October. So it just doesn't match up. I think if he was sitting around doing nothing, he's like, hey, I'll come back, guaranteed to start in the beginning, then we'll see where things go. I think when he would be willing to come back and finally be back in shape is the same time that, Indianapolis will have already begun to sort whatever they're going to do out. I just don't think the timing matches up. I don't think anybody else is going to be willing to take any chances on him. Phillip Rivers is also a very competitive guy. He's not going to come back if he's not in great shape. So I just don't see any reason for him to come back. He's not going to go to one of these uber competitive teams too either. So I don't see it.
I love the chat. Fiction. This makes me laugh my ass off. PD Nix, Scotty in the chat getting saucy. Turns out being at home with your 12 kids isn't all it's cracked up to be, and he wants to be back. Love Love it. And then stay retired fiction, not a fan. So yeah, this did come up with the Colts injury. Now, again, he's 39 years old, and he wasn't exactly the most mobile guy in the league. He wasn't I mean, he was good, not great, in my opinion, towards the end of, his career there. He's definitely shifted his mindset away from the NFL in the last year and a half, just based off of the fact that, I mean, he really wanted to, I mean, I feel like the competitive itch is still there, but realistically is like, do you want a 39-year-old quarterback who hasn't played in a little bit to come back and be a guy that you can, like, it's not a long-term situation. So, he wants to play for a contender. The Colts are going to be fairly competitive this season. They have a decent roster. And I think that's where this comes into play. But I'm not going to lie. I'm with you guys. I'm fiction on this. I feel like it's just a strange thing to say. I don't know why he would say it the way he did. I don't know what kind of context, but I mean, again, he's going to be 40, and there's only one guy above the age of 40 that's worth a damn right now, and that's Tom Brady. Tom Brady has proven that he's able to, play at a high level past a certain age. I don't see Philip Rivers being that guy. He did play all 16 regular season games in every season between 2006 and 2020. That's more, what's more is his production with the Colts. He was 11-5 in the regular season and ranked 8th in completion percentage, 68%, and 10th in passing yards with 41, almost 4,200 yards. I feel like, can he be like a nice little backup or something? Or could he come in and like win you a couple games? Sure, but like, yeah, I think this just really stirs the pot with your current quarterback, group, and I don't know. It's just a weird thing, man. I just don't see it. I think it's. I think he's staying retired.
Let me throw this one out real fast. So we started off the show. We were kind of talking a little bit of local sports with the Denver Broncos, Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. Let's end it maybe a little there. Would the Broncos be a good fit for Philip Rivers to come back as a rental player for 1 year if you don't like what you're seeing with Bridgewater and Drew Lock? Could he be that guy? Could he be your Peyton Manning who took you and won the Super Bowl, where he's just managed the game based on his veteran presence?
I wouldn't trust our offensive line to protect anything ever. This is the most everyone in chat. No way. Marie, Deb, and everyone. No. I haven't seen our offensive line be able to protect anybody in recent years, and this guy's the most unathletic quarterback you could possibly have at 39 going on 40. This would be an absolute awful fit from that standpoint. Now, if you told me that our offensive line was number 1 in the league, maybe. Like, this would be like a last case scenario. But, I mean, I feel like all the upside with Bridgewater, and, I mean, I wouldn't go that direction.
They do crazy things out in Dove Valley.
Scotty in chat, Rivers could start in Denver, right? Yeah.
You would like that. You would like that.
Yeah, Scotty would love it because that's just like the shit the Broncos have to deal with, and he would just be laughing at the dysfunction. That's all he would be doing. That's pretty much his whole MO right now. So yeah, it's crazy, man. But or backup in Kansas. There you go. He could be the backup for the Chiefs. There you go, Scotty. You could have him out in Kansas City. That would work.
I don't think that would work. I think he would end up beating out Mahomes.
Yeah, he would probably take over for Mahomes at some point. Hey, Patrick, you kind of suck, man. Like, hey, is Philip Rivers? Did he get a babysitter for his kids? All right, cool. Bring him in. Let's go. Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious. Yes, Marie in chat. Yeah, you take him, Scotty. There you go. Absolutely. Well, that's what we have for you here. I don't think we have another topic. Oh yeah, no, we do have another topic. I'm sorry. We didn't want to leave you hanging. So Brandon here is a big college guy, and so there's been a lot with college athletics going on, and I completely forgot we had this many topics. I'm so excited. This is our last one of the night, but
bonus.
This is a bonus coverage here. So, with all of you, Scotty in chat, we got it, Mahomes. Yeah, all right, we get it. All right, we get it. So we had the big news of Texas and Oklahoma or OU going to the SEC. That's going to be a huge thing. I have to run. Have a great night. Marie, thanks for being a part of the stream. You rock. You're the best. Thank you for being here and supporting us. It means the world. So we hope to see you back here on Sunday, and I'll see you in chats throughout Twitch. So have a great night. So the super conferences have come into a little bit of a thing, because you have this past week the Pac-12, and you also have the Big 12 having a conversation about, all right, do we kind of partner up here in a little bit in certain ways? Now, do you have a little bit of a background on some of the talks? Partnership could mean anything, right, Brandon?
Right.
But yeah, what were you hearing from that standpoint?
So, of course, all the big talk is with OU and Texas going to the SEC after I believe the 2025 season. Basically, the big question now becomes, what happens to the Big 12? Is it going to try and stay a conference and bring on other teams to, either come up to 10 teams or go back to 12 teams? If they were to do that, who would that be? Are you going to pull from, the Conference USA, Mountain West? You're going to pull in Boise State and Houston, some of those, SMU, who has kind of a rejuvenated program. And even if they did, does that make it a true Power 5 conference still? A lot of theory is, will they just dissolve? Will the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the ACC say, hey, if the SEC is going to 16 teams, essentially we need to expand as well? Basically, it's almost a survival of the fittest. And we're not just talking about when you're looking at it as far as football, right? Because you have a school in Kansas who their football program, that's probably one of the worst ones in the Power 5, right? It's not really even a Power 5 football program anymore. But their basketball is very attractive. Any conference would love to have them. Could you imagine if Kansas went to play in the same conference as Duke and North Carolina? That would be insane for college athletics. So I guess super conferences, will they be the future of college athletics? I would say we're probably moving towards 4 conferences. I think the Big 12 is going to go away at some point. There is talk between the Big 12 and the Pac-12 about some kind of partnership. I don't necessarily think that means that they are going to form one big conference. I think the Pac-12 is not interested in that.
We'll get you caught up to speed on all the.
Can you hear me now?
I got you. Now, all right, you're back. Okay.
I don't think they fit the mold. So I think right now what the talks are between the two of them is maybe adding a couple non-conference games. Right now, the Pac-12 plays about 9 non-conference games. That's more than most Power 5 conferences, who play 8 conference games. So there's a little bit of leverage in order to maybe drop down to 8 games and maybe add a Big 12 school in there. And then maybe if they can find another way, is my thought, to add another non-conference game, maybe that brings the remaining Big 12 schools up to a manageable load of, between the conference games they're playing and teaming up with the Pac-12 to still remain a viable Power 5 conference and maybe moving forward. I think eventually what we'll see, though, is somebody's going to break away, and one more team will break away, two more teams. That's going to be it. I think Iowa State probably is going to go to the Big Ten. They're a natural fit there. Iowa, they're already in the Big Ten. So if Iowa State were to go there, I think it makes perfect sense. I don't think anybody's going to come into the Big 12 at this point. That's from some of the more top tier programs. I don't think Colorado is going to come back, which that one would make a little bit of sense. Nebraska, I don't think nobody's going to go back into a dying conference. So I think the Big 12, their days are numbered. I think we're going to probably see 4 power conferences. So that's the closest we'll get right now to super conferences.
Got you muted again. So we're going to need to... We got you. What was your last thought there?
I think that we'll see the Pac-12 and the Big Ten eventually, when the dust settles, form some type of agreement between the two of them in order to try and keep pace with the SEC. There's a long partnership between the Big Ten and the Pac-12. They played in the Rose Bowl for a number of years. We saw it when COVID first hit. Those two conferences joined to say that we're not going to play initially in the beginning of the season. So I think if you see anything move in the future, I think eventually it's going to be the Pac-12 and the Big Ten somehow joining forces. And with the expanded playoffs of 12 teams, we also see that conference championships maybe aren't going to matter as much. But maybe the Big Ten and the Pac-12 will try and match each other up at the end of the season, right before the playoffs. Maybe they try and match some of their best teams up, see if that can get them over the hump and into that 12-team playoff. It'll be interesting.
So you're saying fact.
I'm gonna say fiction, because I think in the talk of super conferences, you're usually talking about maybe like a 32-team conference. So 4 conferences. I don't think that's super conferences. It's just 4 main conferences. So I'm gonna go fiction.
Okay, all right. Scotty in chat, fact, anything eliminates NCAA power. And then he goes rock chalk baby, because he loves his semi-mediocre rock chalk football. But hey, they're great at basketball, so there you go.
It could be a bad situation for Kansas, though, in basketball if they fall into one of those, for some reason, a lower tier conference. I don't think that'll happen. I think one of the big conferences will pick them up only for basketball. But if they fall into like maybe the AAC, that's not good for them.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. There's so much shifting here, and a lot of teams are pissed, right? Because this is similar to what was happening in soccer in Europe with the Super Conference over there, right? You got some of the best teams who are going to create this super team, super league, right? The European Super League obviously failed because of what it did to the overall product of European soccer. And you're seeing a little bit of that here, right? You're seeing a little bit of, hey, SEC's where it's at. I want to go over there because, we want to. So the 2 best teams in the Big 12 are going over to compete with the best over there. And people get pissed off about that. You got all the Big 12 teams that are left there like, what the hell, man? And all of a sudden it creates a domino effect. And it's like, all right, well, if the SEC is where things are happening and you're going to have perennial Final Fours or even expanded playoffs as we get down further into these expanded playoff talks, and you're always seeing the SEC, well, guess what? The Big Ten, the Pac-12, all these other conferences are going to be like, yo, what do we do to compete with that? Because obviously the SEC needs to they've figured it out. They just figure out a way to get the best teams, and the best teams want to play over there. Well, hey, let's do the same thing. And I think that it's only a matter of time that I say fact, super conferences will be the future eventually, where you might have a handful of super conferences that, SEC competes against and balances the power. Because obviously, what are we always having trouble with? Who are we always seeing in winning the championship? It's always an SEC team that's in there. That's always favorited to win. You got Alabama 99% of the time that's always going to be in there as well. So, it's just one of those where you just expect it to be an SEC team of some sort to be competing in based off of their recruiting, based off of everything they do. And that we're mainly talking football here, obviously. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because a question technically is college athletics, but what is college athletics kind of revolve around when it comes to athletics? Basketball and football are the two biggest things when it comes to those different conferences and how they compete and what brings in the most revenue, right? So that's what we're talking about. But then it trickles down to all the other athletic events and all the other athletic, teams, men's, women's, everything. So I think the logistics of it sound really, really messy. However, I do think this is gonna be something that we'll be keeping an eye on moving forward for sure. Scotty in chat giving you props, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. I do. One more thing is, I think, like you said, it's a domino effect, and we're talking about some of the bigger teams and the revenue. But I think the dominoes are really going to fall all the way down to some of those smaller teams. There's a lot of teams that get brought in as non-conference opponents, to play these big name conference schools, basically to get beat up on. They collect a nice $600,000 paycheck. If you start seeing these bigger conferences have to start playing each other, or these super conferences where really they don't play outside that. So your University of Louisiana Monroe, maybe all of a sudden they're not getting that game. That's going to start affecting their whole athletic department if they're not able to cash some of those big checks that really fund their athletic programs. So, Oklahoma and Texas, the domino effect, it's real. And I wouldn't be surprised if it really affects some college athletic programs down the line. Maybe some might not even be playing football anymore because of this move.
Wow, that's a big statement right there. I mean, this changes a lot, man, and it's only going to get crazier with all the new changes and everything happening with it. So we'll see what happens. We'll monitor it, but yeah, this is, man. You know what, Brandon? We made it. You came in.
We're done. Well, thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man, we had a blast here. Scotty giving you love in chat. I'm not going to lie, man. I had a fantastic night talking with you tonight. I'm so glad you came on. We've been trying to get Brandon on for a little bit here, and we finally got him convinced to join in on the show, and you didn't disappoint, my friend. You came in and you brought it, and it was fantastic across the board, so we appreciate you popping in. This isn't the first, and it's not, this is the first, and it's not going to be the last time that you've joined us on the Action Lab. I hope you had a great time.
Sounds great. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you. Great fans out there. Thank you to everybody watching.
No. And piggybacking off of that, love to give a big shout out to everyone who participated in the chat tonight. So Scotty, obviously from Coors Field, Marie, we had, who else was popping in and out of our chat? We had our latest follower, Macaulay, popping in and having a good time with us there early on as well, hitting that follow button, which we really appreciate. We definitely didn't hit our follower goal tonight, so if you're still here and you want to be a part of this follower count right here, we're right 50% away. We almost made it. And if you're here and you want to hit that follow button to get us to 100%, we would appreciate it. Otherwise, we're glad that you're here and glad that you popped in and had a good time with us here on the Action Lab on a Wednesday night. Our job is to get you through your week and have some have an entertainment night of talking some sports, talking all your hot takes, having a good time with it, and making your week a little bit brighter, right? So next time, we're going to be going in on a Sunday night is our next scheduled show, as you guys know. And Scotty's going to be back in the lab. We're going to be talking a lot of different topics that we got planned for you guys. So make sure you hit that follow button so you get all the notifications, making sure that you're here each and every one of our shows whenever we start going live. And we appreciate all of it. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your week. We will see you back here in the Action Lab on Sunday.